Hey everybody! In today's video we're going to be talking all about Abe. Let's do this! As Mudokon and Glukkon relations began to deteriorate after the appearance of the Mudokon moon, soon began Oddworld's Industrial Revolution and subsequent Glukkon uprising. In the beginning, they provided consumers with quality products manufactured by their Mudokon employees. Glukkon industries flourished on Mudos. Growing more and more powerful along with their greed, reaping Oddworld's natural beauty and resources for quick profits. Soon the formation of the Magog cartel and the resentment they held for their once allies led to the Mudokon's eventual subjugation. The true history of Mudokon ancestry is largely shrouded in mystery. They would become generally viewed by industrial societies as primitive and barbaric, due to Glukkon propaganda and alterations of the past. It soon became apparent that the Mudokon's very existence was in jeopardy. Witnessing the genocide taking place and the destruction of the world around her, the vulnerable and immobile Mudokon Queen Sam was offered the opportunity to save her unborn children by selling her eggs to the workforce. Misled and unaware of the horrid and dangerous conditions they'd be made to suffer, she agreed. Queen Sam alone has produced the entire slave labor force we see today. The Vikers keep her captive in a facility, secluded and drugged as her unborn children are sold under the brand Sam's Labor Eggs to various companies throughout the Magog cartel. From one of these eggs, in the nursery of Oddworld's biggest meat processing plant, Rupture Farms 1029, would hatch Abe, the Mudokon Messiah. When we first meet Abe, he's 15 years old, 5 foot 8 inches, and 92 pounds. Like all Mudokons raised into slavery, he has spent his life being brainwashed by Magog cartel misinformation, and is extremely detached from his Mudokon heritage. Naive optimists, oblivious to any other way of life. Born a slave laborer like countless others, it's said that Queen Sam was responsible for stitching Abe's lips together to prevent him from speaking and crying, fearing he would otherwise be killed. Since then, they've loosened enough to allow him to speak. Abe's blue, green, and purple tones not only reflect his forest ancestry, but also his even temper. His soft, light underside, unbeknownst to him, an indication of the Mudokon's connection to the beasts of Oddworld. Like most Mudokons in captivity, Abe's feathers are stunted, tied, or possibly even cut, unlike native Mudokons whose feathers grow wildly and unclipped. Nimble but clumsy due to his cumbersome hands and feet, as most Mudokons are. Slow-witted and lazy, but helpful and obedient. Abe is caring and good-hearted, albeit a bit gullible. His empathy and compassion is what sets him apart from his fellow Mudokons. A first-class floor waxer, Abe has been indoctrinated to believe he has a good job, and the ruthless corporation that enslaved him is actually a good place to work. He even won the title of Employee of the Year. Abe was working late one night, waxing the floors and reflecting on the delicious treats his employer provides, until he reached a billboard for a mysterious product called New and Tasty, and curiosity got the best of him. As he listened in on the Glucken's annual board meeting, he discovered that in the wake of depleting wildlife and resources, Rupture Farm CEO Mullock has conceived a plan to counter these declining profits by using the readily available meat of his slave force to make Mudokon pops. Panicked and horrified, Abe immediately opted to make an escape, but security cameras captured his attempt to flee, and the factory was put on notice. In the process of escaping, Abe uncovered his inherent supernatural ability to possess creatures through chanting. Extremely useful for infiltration, this new power allows Abe to enter their minds and take control over their bodies, utilizing any potential resources they might have. More importantly, Abe's chant can also activate bird portals for himself and his fellow slaves. Jumping through these open portals enables a quick escape, transporting fleeing Mudokons to the safety of the Monsaic Sanctum. After accidentally stumbling into a barrel of meat on a production line, Abe was able to evade Rupture Farm security and reach the outer perimeter of the stockyards. As Abe reached the outskirts of the processing plant, he was met with a sight he'd never seen before. A massive moon with the shape of a Mudokon paw etched into its face. As he raised his hand to the moon, suddenly the ground beneath him began to crumble, sending Abe plummeting down the cliff face, smashing his head into the ground. As Abe laid lifeless, he is suddenly approached by Shaman Bigface, a Mudokon spiritual leader. Bigface explained to Abe that Mudokons were once a free race on Mudos. Proud and spiritual, living harmoniously in balance with nature before the uprising of their Gluckan oppressors. Born into Rupture Farm slave labor force, conditioned to believe Gluckan disinformation, Abe has lived his life completely unaware that the very creatures they slaughtered to near extinction for profit's sake were once regarded as sacred by his Mudokon ancestors. The Big Face revealed that ancient prophecies have foretold of a savior of Oddworld, and that Abe must complete the trials of Shrykol and prove himself by facing these sacred animals in their nesting sites. These prophecies can still be read in the age-old temples, totems, and story stones forged by the forgotten Mudokon tribes. Abe is revived, and he had landed near the entrance of the Monsaic lines. These holy caves were once used by devout Mudokons belonging to cults and secret societies for meditation, and to further explore their spirituality and heritage. While its purpose has not changed, today it's also utilized as a tool to assist liberated slaves in reconnecting to their natural identities and spiritual descent. This huge landmass interconnected by massive roots has remained virtually untouched by industrialists, despite its close vicinity to Rupture Farms. As Abe made his way through these humid, overgrown caverns, he was met by some of these reverent natives. Though they can be apprehensive and sometimes aggressive towards institutionalized Mudokons, they guided Abe, and began to teach him ancient Mudokon tongues, a language comprised of melodic whistles and the occasional fart.
Okay, you can go.
With the help of these Mudokons, Abe was able to reach the extensive windwell entrances of Scribania and Paramonia. Aided by his faithful companion Elam, Abe trekked through the Paramonian Temple and its thick forests infested with paramites. A across Scrabania's barren desert and through the ancient Scrabanian temple littered with scrabs. Abe would relight the holy flames extinguished by the Gluckons, traverse the nesting grounds of these sacred beasts, and be rewarded by Bigface with a mystic tattoo on the back of each hand. Once Abe earned the Paramite and Scrab hand scars, he entered the Monsaic Temple and gained the ability to invoke the destructive powers of the mighty god Shrikehole. Despite heightened alert, Abe was able to infiltrate his former workplace and heroically rescue all 99 of his fellow slaves before they could be killed by their enraged employer. Evading all means of security, Abe was able to shut down Rupture Farm's main power source and enter the boardroom. There he harnessed Shrikehole's power, killing the Gluckon executives surrounding him. Unfortunately, Moloch was not present. Abe was finally subdued by Slig forces. Chained and isolated in a holding cell to await his execution. But the Kwarma he had earned saving his enslaved brothers impressed those devout holy Mudokons. Together using a storm circle, they sent a bolt of lightning coursing through Moloch and his assistant before Abe could be dropped into the blades and grinders below. Abe passed out from the sheer stress and intensity just before the Big Face appeared and transported him back to the Monsaic Sanctum, where the freed Mudokons awaited his arrival. Abe was greeted with a ceremonious uproar. The bolt of lightning that hit Rupture Farm's main hub set it ablaze, and the factory is currently out of service. Though some of its branches remain active, Moloch the Gluckon is presumed dead. Abe's Mudokon brothers would from then on look upon him as their savior. That's going to do it for part 1 of Abe's origins. I do want to talk about what happens in Abe's Exodus, but as we all know, Soulstorm's set to come out this spring, so all that stuff is kind of subject to change. Soulstorm is supposed to be sort of originally what they envisioned Abe's Exodus to be, so hopefully by the time that I get around to doing part 2, that game will have already come out and we can all hear the real story. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the other videos on the channel, and stay tuned for the next one.
Bye.